Morning, it's Audrey, Stitchy Witch 42. It's Monday, June 17th. I recorded my whole video and then realized I did something really wrong, and so I'm starting over again. So, take two. I wanted to start off by wishing someone who comments on my videos all the time a happy belated birthday. I found out a couple of weeks ago that Susanna Warner, her birthday is the same day as Mark's and my anniversary. We just celebrated 36 years, and I'm sure, that's winking, that we've been married longer than Susanna's age. Yeah. Happy birthday, Susanna. I have always loved reading the comments that you leave on my videos, and that goes for everyone. I sit here and I record my video in my home, and basically I'm talking to myself and recording myself talking to myself. So it doesn't become a two-way conversation until somebody comments on my video, and I read every single one of them, and I usually reply to every single one of them. But here recently, I've had a couple of different people tell me that they are binge watching all of my videos. When I record my video, I will watch it once and then I will upload it. And pretty much that's the only time that I watch my video. When somebody is binge watching me and they're commenting on videos from a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago, last year, I don't always remember the context of what that video was about. So usually those, I will just hit the heart button. But I do read all of my comments on my videos. So thank you to everyone who likes, subscribes, and comments, because it makes me feel that me sitting here talking to myself in my living room is actually a conversation when you watch, you're visiting, and you take the time to comment. Thank you very much. And again, happy belated birthday to Suzanne Warner. Okay, the second thing on my list was my giveaway for my last video, cross stitch and country crafts. 5 people said that they were interested in this. I did the random number generator. I got number 1, Candace Slub Lover Stitches. I will leave the comment on your comment, and you will contact me, and I will send you this, and all will be good. Okay. I'm going to talk about a project that I haven't started stitching yet, but I've been working on it. In my video last week, I mentioned that Deanna, who is Tuxie Twin Stitches, she works for the James J. O'Mara Pharmacy Museum. And she designed a pattern. This pattern appeals to me on so many levels. I can't even begin to tell you how much I love it. It's simple, but I like this piece a lot. So, Mark's mom, or as I refer to her, she who must not be named. She's one of those mother-in-laws. Anyway, she used to have an antique shop decades ago. And a lot of what she sold was bottles. Mark's dad collected soda water bottles. One of his brothers collected soda pop bottles. There's a difference. His other brother collected milk bottles. Mark collected the tiny little medicine bottles. And she who must not be named collected ball jars, various styles and shapes. So I have been around antique bottles for a long, long time. There's some that I've collected too. And when I saw this piece, I've stitched Witchy Woman Apothecary. I have stitched the Primitive's Hair, the Spell Store. I have the pattern, the Curiosity Shop that I want to stitch. And then Deanna came out with this, and it's right in line with all of those. And it just, Deanna, this appeals to me so much. I can't even begin to tell you how much. So she's got it charted in 8 different colors of DMC. After I recorded my last video, I went upstairs to pull out the DMC colors because that's usually what I stitch in. And I had all of them except for 2. And then I'm sitting here looking at this pattern and I'm thinking, I can play with this. I can play with this. I can see where I can use some variegated colors in this, and yeah, I can play with this. Well, a couple days later was Thursday, first Thursday meetup. I'm headed up to Acorns and Threads. Michelle Garrett, Bendy Stitchy, this was the first meetup that she got to come to for several months. So she stopped by my house on the way up there and picked me up, and I got to have extra Michelle time both on the way up and the way back home after the meetup. And we'd gotten up there real early. But when we walked into the shop, Stephanie was there, and a few minutes later, Wendy showed up, the 2 ladies that are pixie dust stitchers. They were there early to record their videos because they've been recording them from Acorns and Threads. So Michelle and I are doing shopping in the store. We're on opposite sides of the store. I know for me, I'm trying to stay out of their camera view because they're doing their video. They don't need to have people jumping in it. That may have happened later. But they didn't need to have me jumping in it the whole time. So I'm over at the wall of floss and I'm looking at all the different colors there because on her pattern, she's got green bottles, brown bottles, white bottles, and blue bottles. I did some homework on antique bottles. And what was used to make glass was sand, silica, soda, and lime. And putting those 3 ingredients together, you could create glass. If you left them just as they are, those 3 ingredients, because of the iron content in them, you would get green bottles, green glass. And this green glass could be anything from a deep dark green to an olive green to a yellow green. And the brown bottles, think beer bottles, whiskey bottles. They're dark colors to protect what's inside of them. And then there's the milk glass bottles. And then there's the blue bottles. My favorite. Blue's my color. So I had taken up with me the DMC colors that Deanna had chose. The green that she had chosen was DMC 700, which is a beautiful green, but it's more of a Christmas green. And it wasn't what I was envisioning. So I was over looking at the wall of floss, looking at the Gentle Arts, looking at the Weeks, looking at the Classic Colorworks, and I saw it. And then I saw the name and I knew I had to use this color, if for no other reason than the name. But I got Weeks Dye Work Absinthe. Look at that green. That is just so perfect for a green glass jar. And it's got just a little bit of variegation in it. So I think that this is the color that I'm going to use for the green bottles. Then the next bottles that she has on her pattern is brown. She had it charted in 433. This one I went with a Gentle Art Simply Shaker Heirloom Gold. Again, it's got a little bit of variegation in it, but I think that this is going to look just fabulous for the brown bottles. Now the white bottles, milk glass. She had those charted in ecru, and while that's a good choice, when I think of milk glass, I think of creamy, milky white. Not B5200, not even white. I was thinking one of the 3860s. So I went upstairs and I looked at a couple of them, and the one that looks right to me is 3865. It is just a creamy white color, which I think will be perfect for my milk glass bottles. Now, the blue bottles. Blue is my color. I've told you this before. Almost any shade of blue makes me happy, but the color that makes my soul dance is cobalt blue. And I'm looking at this wall of floss, and I'm looking at all the variegated flosses. And while there were a lot of really pretty variegated flosses over there, there were none that were the perfect color. She charted hers in 820, which was a beautiful color. But it wasn't the blue that spoke to me. And when I couldn't find the blue that I wanted in the variegated colors, I went across the shop and I went over to the DMC drawers and I started pulling open the drawers with all the different blues until I found the one that I wanted. So the color that I chose is 796. That is, to me, the perfect blue for glass bottles. It's my blue. It's my blue. On the bottles, she's got little labels charted, and the color that she had charted for that was 729. 729 is a pretty color, and it's a yellowy golden color. And yes, when you look at old bottles, they will have yellowed, but I didn't like the way that color looked with my blue. Just wasn't going to work. So I went back to the wall of floss and I sat there and I searched. I wanted to find something that was variegated, that even if I have to fussy cut the floss, I can get the effect that I want, because I play with variegated floss to make it do what I want, not what it wants. The color that I found is another Weeks Dye Works. This one is called White Chocolate, and it's got a cream color in there, and then it goes to a dark brown. It's white chocolate. It's my favorite candy. But I think that with this color, I can do the labels on the bottles. So I have my color palette all picked out. Then I needed fabric. Deanna has charted this on 14 count Aida or 28 count even weave, linen, whatever you choose. So I figured out how much fabric I was going to need. I need something 10.5 inches high by 19 inches wide. I went over and I looked at the table of fabric that Janine has in the store. And she has this huge oval table, two-tiered oval table. And she has all of her fabrics lined up nicely folded around the edges of both tiers based on count and color. And then she's got all of the Adas against the back wall. And I was looking at all these various things and I found ancient. And I thought, oh, perfect. That would be perfect. But the piece that I had that was big enough to do this was 36 count. And I didn't want to do this in 36 count. While she did have some ancient in 28 count, it wasn't wide enough. So now I'm thinking to myself, I have all that Ada that I got in my thrifting box a couple of weeks ago. I could dye something. Yeah. So the next day being Friday, which I usually have off, but I had to work that day. I only worked a half day, but flying home, low-level flying as fast as I can on back roads while not being caught. Low-level flying. Anyway, while I was flying home, I was thinking about the colors of dyes that I have here, and I've really only dyed one other piece of fabric myself, so I really don't have a clue what I'm doing, but I figured that was why I got all that fabric, was to play. And I'm thinking about what colors I wanted to incorporate in this fabric that I'm going to dye. And I knew I wanted some blue in there. And I was thinking some taupe because, yes, I wanted to kind of get some coloration like ancient. Didn't happen. But that was my starting point. So I got home. I cut my fabric to size. I got it wet. I got my plastic tub out. I got my dyes out. I boiled my water. I added my salt. I put them in the squeeze bottles. I added the colors to them. And I squirted the blue on the fabric. And I ended up with great big blue spots all over the fabric. And it's like, nope, no, that's not what I wanted. No. And I thought, okay, let's try some of the taupe on there, and maybe that will tone some of the blues down. The taupe really didn't seem to be changing the color of the cloth much. So I added a little bit of chocolate brown to the taupe in the hopes that I would get it darker, and that would tone the blue blobs down. Not really. So I made up another little squirt bottle of dye. This time I used charcoal. And I squirted it on there, and there was still blue splotches all over the place. And I thought, okay, maybe if I twist it and wring it out and do all that, maybe I will get the look that I want. So I had the hot water running in the sink, and I put my fabric underneath there, and I got it wet, and I'm twisting it, and I'm letting the color run out, and I'm twisting it some more. And when I opened it, I had a gray blob of fabric because I blended all the colors together because I don't know what I'm doing. But I thought, you know, it's okay. It's all right. I will dry it and see what happens. I had my oven turned on at 200 degrees. I had my cookie sheet there. I had several layers of paper towels there so that I could lay my fabric across the paper towels, and I could put it in the oven for about 10 minutes to set the color. When I took the fabric out, I had a steaming gray blob of fabric. Okay. So then my idea was that I would take it over to my neighbor's house. They have a spinning clothes rack, and I would hang it up out there and just let it air dry. So I did that. And then I came home and I cleaned all the stuff up in the kitchen and I sat down in my chair and I fell asleep. I woke up 2 hours later and it was pouring down rain outside. Oh my God. So I went out and I ran over to the neighbor's yard and my fabric is there, but because of the rain, it had pulled itself together. So it was this wet, soddy, gray blob just hanging there, dripping wet off the clothesline. Oh my God. So I brought it back and I put it in the dryer for about 15, 20 minutes, something like that. And I took it out, and yes, there is some variation in it, but it's very much a gray fabric. And I let it dry overnight sitting on top of my washing machine. And I have what I am referring to as my gray blob of fabric. There is a little bit of variation in it, not a lot. But when I put those colors that I chose on it, I really like the way that it works. This fabric is big enough that if I fold it in half, I have plenty of fabric to do this piece, and I have half of it that is the same size. So I got the idea to do another giveaway. Deanna designed this pattern to benefit the museum that she works for. I want to give away half of my gray blob fabric. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do a giveaway, but I'm going to give it a little bit of a twist. If you're interested in half of the gray blob, that is its official name, by the way, what you need to do this time is either send me an email, and I will list my email address down below. And I have to tell you, I've had a couple people say that they've had a difficult time trying to get an email through to me. Most likely it's because of my last name. My last name is Walster, W-A-H-L-S-T-E-R, Walster. A lot of people try to switch the L and the H. So my email address down below is acwalster@gmail.com, or you can contact me through message on Instagram. I'm StitchyWitch42 there. And what I want from you, if you're interested in half of this fabric, is a selfie holding the pattern. That way I know that you have purchased the pattern from Deanna, and I will put you in for the drawing for half of the gray blob. Deanna is doing this through her work computer. And I know that Linda Craig has ordered this pattern. She had contacted me because she ordered it on a Sunday night and hadn't gotten anything back. It is not an instant download. Deanna has to email the pattern to you. So if you're ordering it late evening, or if you're ordering it on the weekends and you don't get it right away, it's because Deanna has to send you the email from her work computer with this pattern in it. So give her a day or so to get the pattern back to you. But that's my drawing. If you want half of my gray blob, send me a selfie holding up this pattern, and you can be entered into the drawing. So I have all my flosses put together, and I have them put together in one of Karina's, who is Bags Plus, one of her floss buddies. I like these. This is the second one that I have, and I just think that she does a fantastic job with these. She had posted this fabric on Instagram, and I fell in love with it because it has a zodiac on it, and it has these stags and they're blue and teal, and yeah, that's me, you know. And she offered to gift me one. She didn't have to, but she did, and thank you so very much, Karina. I've seen people showing these, and honestly, I can't tell you how much I like them. First of all, there's the quality of her work, and it is so, so well made. When she stitches these, she takes the time to hem the top edge of each pocket. Is that going to make a difference? I don't think it will, because you've got the bottom edge down here, and it's just vinyl. It's soft. It's not going to catch anything, but she takes the time to hem the top of these, and it just gives it a nice finished feel to it. I like these because, like with my Classic Colorworks, I can just slide the card. I don't bobbinate my fancy floss. I keep them on the cards, but I can just put them on there and drape the extra behind them, and they're very secure. The weeks, same thing. I just stick the card down in there and let the floss hang outside. The DMC that I bobbinate, the bobbins fit perfectly in there, and if I haven't bobbinated them, I can stick the whole skein of floss in there. When I'm stitching and I cut my length of thread off, I separate my strands that I'm using, I will take the leftovers and wind it around my fingers and just tuck them back in the pocket behind whatever color that I'm using. I have, my other one is one of the larger ones that she does. You could use this for a single project. My other one, I have the colors for 3 projects in it because it's big enough to do that. And all three of those projects are only 4 or 5 colors, so putting them all in one floss buddy works really nice. You can roll these up. I like just putting them this way and then tying them closed, and I can fit my pattern and my fabric folded up inside here, and I'm good to go. So thank you much, Karina. Thank you so much for gifting me with one of your floss buddies. I love them. I will get more of them. I think everybody should. And everybody, please go check out Deanna's pattern. Okay, 28 minutes, and I haven't shown you any cross stitch. So it's time. I am very, very close to a finish on this piece. This is Barbara Anna, A Wicked Plant. Right here is where I'm working, and it's the top half of one of these. So I just have 3 sections left to do down here, and this is done. Yes, I did stitch the spiders. Yes, I have been listening to all my friends who do floss tube and mention me and beaded spiders, or spiders out in their garden, or spider fabric. I listen. I remember. Barbara Anna's A Wicked Plant. It will be done this afternoon. I'm not sure how I'm going to finish it. I don't know. We will see what happens. The other one that I'm really close to a finish on is Plum Street Samplers, Scary One. And yes, this one has a mistake in it. When I was stitching up at Acorns and I got over here to putting in her dress and working on this bat, there is supposed to be a space between the bat and the snake. And when I went back and I looked at it, down here in the corner, I made a mistake on this black and missed about 4 stitches. But since I had already stitched all the rest of the snake up here, I decided to leave it because I am not going to undo all that work for one stitch, and I think it looks just fine. So that is where I am at on Scary One. Now, the last thing that I want to show you is a project that I've been working on for an exchange. I've posted a couple of pictures on Instagram and in the Stitcher's Coven. Those are the two places that I post most often. I posted that I had stitched a spoon on perforated paper, and then I wouldn't tell anybody why I stitched a spoon on perforated paper. Well, the reason why I stitched the spoon on the perforated paper is because the pattern that I chose for my use on this exchange was the little teacup, the same teacup that I have my granddaughters stitching for me. And they haven't been stitching the last couple of weeks that they've been over. They don't want to right now. Eventually, they'll get it done. But on the pattern, right underneath it, it said Witch's Brew. And I knew that I wanted to finish this on a ball jar. But I also knew that the words Witch's Brew wouldn't fit underneath here on the lid. So, how to incorporate that into my design? I stitched a spoon. And I put the words here that says Witch's Brew. And you're all going, okay, but what are you going to do with it? I'm getting there. The other thing that was on the pattern was there was a little tea bag here on the design. And when I went over to Wendy's house one day, we were talking about this, and I was talking about having the girls stitch it for me. She goes, well, you could have them stitch the tea bag separate and have it hanging from the pattern. And I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. But the tea bag was 9 stitches, 3 by 3, itty bitty. I have a full-size spoon. I can't have an itty bitty tea bag. So then it dawned on me. I drink tea. My favorite tea is Tetley's British tea. I have a canister of it in the kitchen. And there are times that I will walk over to that canister and I'll take the top off and I'll stick my face right into the jar and just inhale because it smells so good. Yes, I huff tea bags. But I was making myself a cup of tea one day and it dawned on me, I can stitch a tea bag that's shaped like a Tetley's tea bag, which is a round circle. And that's what I posted on Instagram and the Stitcher's Coven, was a round circle stitched on perforated paper with no explanation. Because what I wanted it to look like, and what it ended up looking like, is a Tetley's tea bag with the word tea bags on it. Then how am I going to attach this? Tetley's tea bags don't have cords. Mine does. Year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I bought one of those kits for the girls to use to make floss bracelets. And I did this with the first ornament that I ever finished Vana style. I braided the floss. So I used that bracelet maker and I braided the floss. I attached it to my tea bag, put sticky back felt on the back of it, and then put a couple of stitches in the top because the felt wanted to pull away. So now I have the teacup, the tea bag, but how to attach the spoon? Needle minder magnets. I put 2 of them, one on the top, one on the bottom. But they kept trying to push the sticky felt off the back, so I put some extra stitches in around it just to hold it more securely. And then I glued magnets onto my jar so that my spoon will be there. I have my teacup, I have my tea bags, I have my spoon that says Witch's Brew. Whoever gets this, if they actually wanted to use this, they can. If they want to wash it, all they have to do is take the spoon off and wash it. It's not going to hurt the magnets at all. So anyway, that is my fully finished item ready for my exchange. So thank you once again for coming and visiting with me. Candace, get me your address so I can send the magazine off your way. If you're interested in half of the gray blob fabric, you know what to do. I will leave my email and my Instagram names down below. Send me a selfie with the pattern. And that way we are helping to support a sister stitcher who is trying to raise money for her museum. Anyway, thank you everyone. Live long and stitch on. Until next time, so long. Bye-bye.